This week, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments on whether states can withhold Medicaid funds from abortion providers like Planned Parenthood. South Carolina has tried to do this since 2017. Federal courts have repeatedly blocked that effort. Charlene Aaron has the story.
The case comes as Planned Parenthood is in crisis, with clinics closing and allegations of malpractice. The outcome of this case could open doors to allowing states to defund the nation's largest abortion provider.
According to its own reporting, Planned Parenthood performs between 1/3 and 2/3 of all abortions in the United States annually, while its provision of other medical services continues to decline.
Alliance Defending Freedom is representing South Carolina's Director of Health and Human Services in the case, which will be argued by senior counsel John Bursch.
South Carolina taxpayers, their dollars are being used to fund an organization which is lobbying against the thing that they want, as enacted by their elected representatives. It's kind of an absurd situation and just demonstrates why South Carolina needs to have the flexibility Congress meant to give it.
The state's intent goes back to 2017. When Governor Henry McMaster ordered the Health and Human Services Department to divert Medicaid funds from Planned Parenthood to women's clinics that don't perform abortions. Planned Parenthood and one of its patients responded by suing the HHS director. A federal district court ruled against the state, restoring the annual $2 billion funding, and a U.S. appeals court later upheld the order. A move South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson says violates the state's rights.
South Carolina has laws on the books that prohibit any state-appropriated funds or funds passing through the state of South Carolina to go to abortion service providers. This has been on the books for years, and of course, Governor McMaster, about 6 or 7 years ago, wrote an executive order that basically kept in line with that statutory provision, which basically prohibited any of the Medicaid funding coming to the states from the federal government to be then directed to groups like Planned Parenthood.
Allison Centofanti of Americans United for Life says it's an issue of states' rights.
So there are other states that have sought to do this, like Texas, eliminating Planned Parenthood as a Medicaid provider. South Carolina is doing it now. And so we're all looking at the Supreme Court saying, hey, there's a circuit split here, 5-2 of whether this is constitutional. We're looking at the Supreme Court saying, give us clear guidance, because when Congress passed the Medicaid program, they didn't think that individuals would be able to sue the state in a civil right into a federal lawsuit saying, hey, you don't have the provider that I like.
A fight Wilson admits won't be easy.
The left, the people who are pro-abortion, they're going to be bringing every single lawsuit on every single conceivable outside-the-box legal theory, crazy legal theory that they can think of. They're going to try to bring it. They're going to try to throw it at us. That is why getting cases like this decided at the U.S. Supreme Court, which allows states to control themselves, is so important for the other 49 states and who want to govern themselves differently than South Carolina.
The High Court agreed to the state's third request and will decide whether the Medicaid Act gives patients the right to choose their health care provider, or that the state has the right to decide how to spend its funds. Bursch is hopeful as the justices hear oral arguments on April 2nd.
South Carolinians and all Americans deserve better than to see their tax dollars funneled to Planned Parenthood's radical priorities. We look forward to a ruling that restores states' freedom to protect life and prioritize genuine health care.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Well, it's been a long-standing principle. I mean, the Hyde Amendment at the federal level said no federal tax dollars can go to abortion. And you look at this and go, why can't states say we don't want any tax money or any government money going into this industry? It doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't have the ability to do that. The numbers are absolutely staggering when you say $2 billion going to abortion just in one state. Well, just multiply that by all 50 states and you get to huge sums that are coming in to provide this kind of service, which at least half of America says, no, we don't want that. And then you get into overwhelming majorities of Americans don't want it when you're talking about 5th, 6th, 7th month termination of pregnancy. So why is the government so interested in doing something that violates the conscience of the taxpayer? Again, it doesn't make any sense, but we'll have to wait for the Supreme Court to rule.